And welcome to another Legion Live. Today we're here with Tyler Lawrence Henderson of SellerLabs. What's up, Tyler?
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you.
I wish you all in the audience could have seen a few minutes ago the cacophony of emergency prep that Tyler was doing because he was claiming that he was all washed out. His lighting is wrong. I think it's just that he and I are both so pale, and it's kind of late in the year right now. It's December, so we haven't had a whole lot of sun on these faces. Tyler, I don't think that there's much that can help us from not looking washed out.
Man, well, I'll tell you what, it's like I always tell people, if I think about the sun too hard, then I get sunburned. And so it's just got to prep around that. So,
Well, you need to start using that like tanning lotion.
Okay, yeah. Look like a real Guido, right?
That'd be it. Just make sure to get a whole lot of your hands so it stains your hands while you're doing it.
Definitely.
And then I ran back to the back room a second ago because I wanted to show you how much love I have for you guys. Yeah. I see you have your Run PPC shirt on. Yeah. And since I'm not going to show people my feet, I'm putting my SellerLabs socks as hand warmers.
I love it. So
for the entire episode, I don't know how I'm going to manipulate my mouse.
I was going to say. I love it. You
like that?
Got to represent.
Now, you will always be able to tell people that you once did an entire podcast online episode with a guy wearing socks on his hands.
There you go. I mean, that was on my bucket list for the year, so I'm glad that we're finally checking it off.
And look, I can kind of hold my mouse.
Oh, there we go, man. Look at you.
Isn't that cool?
That's what you got to do.
It's like a cool little optical illusion. You guys put these orange sock tips on there. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I like it.
I may do this regularly. Just like walking through Walmart. My Run PPC socks.
You definitely fit in Walmart if that's what you're doing.
Come on, man. Those are my people. Don't be trash talking my people. Actually, I think I trash talked my people first, didn't I? I started it. All right. So that was a strange start to an episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love it though. I love it.
But I really am wearing this sock the whole time.
The two of us on here, Tim.
I know. So, gosh, real quick, how long ago did we meet, Tyler?
Oh, it's been at least 2 years, right? Maybe 3.
Do you know where we met?
I think the first time I met you was at what was previously the Rocky Mountain Resellers Conference. At least that's the first time I heard about you guys, was the Rocky Mountain Resellers Conference a couple years ago.
What do you mean what was previously?
I think they've rebranded since then. This upcoming year, they've rebranded.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's going to make it hard to find.
E-commerce conference.
The what? Wow.
Rocky Mountain e-commerce conference.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Paul said they were going to try to rebrand from just resellers. That's good. Hey, hats off to
those guys. Yeah.
Hats off to them. Those guys do a good job. I'll give a shout out to them. If you guys, any of you listeners are thinking about going to a conference or an event or anything this next year, I highly, highly recommend it just because networking is so good because you'll meet cool guys like me and Tyler.
Yes,
but the Rocky Mountain E-com Sellers, whatever conference it is called now, in Denver, Colorado, it's usually July, right?
Yeah, July or June.
June or July. You can find it online. It's an excellent conference. It's not huge. It's maybe only about 300 people typically, but it's really, really good networking. It's really, really good content. They have really good speakers come, and it's always one of the top on our list of, hey, we have to be there. We have to go. So any of you thinking about a conference, that's a great shout out to them. It's been good for us as far as networking. That's where Tyler and I met. I wasn't aware that was the first place we'd met. It was not like a trick question, Tyler. I really couldn't remember.
I think that's right. At least that's where I remember the first time seeing Hickory Flats. So maybe we didn't actually meet then, but that's the first time it stands out to me.
That could be. There's probably some truth to that. So let's get into kind of what I want to talk about. If you guys are not familiar with SellerLabs, which I'm sure most people are, it's one of the older and more mature software providers. When I say mature, just mean it's kind of been around longer and through more changes in the Amazon selling space than most other software companies. And they started off with a flagship product called Feedback Genius. I say flagship because that was kind of the first one that took off. I know there was some other stuff mixed in there. And what Feedback Genius did, Tyler, I want you to give the 3 years ago definition of what Feedback Genius was.
Yeah. So 3 years ago, Feedback Genius, or 5 years ago when we first started it, it was originally an in-house tool that our founder developed for his Amazon account. It's just selling. The original goal of it was to get you seller feedback so that you could win the buy box more, right? When everyone's reselling the same things. It was before the days of private label, and before you even like just like the most original form of private labeling where you're just putting your sticker on things, right? Before that, before reviews really were a thing and everyone was just trying to either sell used books or used DVDs or any of those kind of things. And it was originally just to reach out to get seller feedback. And then kind of since then, it's evolved to get you reviews for your.
Don't get into it. Don't go too far.
I won't go too far, but that was the original.
Jump the gun. All right. So that was Feedback Genius. And then a couple years later, I believe they launched Scope, which is a keyword search volume tool, which is mostly like more in the private label space. That's for people to research demand using, keywords and search terms on Amazon. Excuse me, I just coughed on your sock. And then you've got a new program out now called Ignite.
Right.
And Ignite is a PPC management tool, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh yeah, it just helps you manage it in a really clean, easy manner. Spend 20 minutes a week doing it instead of doing like a couple hours. Gives you suggestions on how to manage it appropriately.
And we actually have on the back end, you're not going to see it today, but Kate Ames and Dan, who is the product manager for Ignite, is that correct?
Yes, that's
are
correct.
Working on some internal training together so that we can launch that external training to you guys as free content, which is going to be really cool. So look out for that in the near future. Now, let me go back to Feedback Genius because was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? We got invited, me and JB and a couple of our buddies, over to the SellerLabs office. And I'm sure Tyler had no idea what he was getting himself into, inviting these 4 guys into the SellerLabs office. And we didn't know either. We were just going to go hang out, talk. And it got really deep, really, really fast. And there was a lot of conversation back and forth on, private label and what it is. And, the journey from people that use like the original use of Feedback Genius to why can they be using Ignite now. We talked a lot about things changing in the culture, things changing in the business, things changing in the groups. And I kind of came in there with some preconceived notions. And I was going to do these guys a solid. And I was going to just be completely blunt with them and upfront with them and tell them that I think that maybe they were focusing on this old archaic Feedback Genius a little too much, because from our point of view, we are seeing more of a demand from our friends and our clients and just the groups and the community as a whole, moving away from flipping products to creating their own products. Okay. So moving from arbitrage to private label, and not saying that it's not all one big project, because it is. So it's not, arbitrage or private label. It's arbitrage and private label. But when I originally got started in Amazon, I got pretty big into it pretty fast. And I was using all the tools out there. Within a year, I'd built a 7-figure, largely wholesale account before I dove deep into private label. And I was using Feedback Genius. And the reason that I used it was because Amazon's metric for giving the buy box on a shared listing. And when I mean a shared listing, it's a listing that other people are reselling on. So like a wholesale or an arbitrage listing, was largely based on seller performance. Mm-hmm. And the seller performance metric, a large part of that was how many seller reviews you had. Also, at the same time, you could use Feedback Genius to solicit product reviews. Okay. So even if I was selling something wholesale or arbitrage, it would still do benefit to get more product reviews, because that would move that listing in ranking above another one. Right. So I was using it for both ways. Now, eventually we had to stop using email responders or emails at all to try to solicit a product review, but we were still using it for seller reviews. I was even at one point still using it on all of our private label stuff. But then once the metrics started changing and the algorithm started changing and my business model started changing, I just completely quit using Feedback Genius and completely cut it out. And like I said, I walked into the office and I was going to tell them why. And, I literally sat in a conference room with a lot of, head honchos even for the company of SellerLabs and said, look, nobody's using this tool anymore. Nobody should be using it. You need to you need to think of something new. You need to come up with a new tool quick because you're about to, the next 3 or 4 years lose all of that client base. And that's when I had my humbling moment because I walked into another meeting and I sat down with, I don't even know who it was. It was in the room with the green grass. Who was that sitting to the left of me?
It was probably Cindy, who's the product manager for Feedback Genius, and Corey, who's our marketing guy.
Okay. It was Corey. Corey dropped this on me. Corey said, Tim, what if you use Feedback Genius for branding? It was like my head exploded. Like all of the wind had been knocked out of my sails. Like all of this, aloofness that I had about, I'm a private label seller, I don't need Feedback Genius, was completely squashed. Tyler, were you I know you were in and out of the room. Were you in there when that actually happened?
I don't think I was, just because I wanted to not help dominate the conversation. I wanted to let the team have it.
I wish you could have seen me. Yeah, I wish you could have seen me wither down into that fake grass carpet and just be like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So now, Tyler, from you guys' perspective, I want you to explain what the SellerLabs, I wouldn't say focus, but one of their purposes of Feedback Genius is that they see. And then once you kind of explain it from your kind of in-house view, I want to come back and talk about how we are now planning to use it in our brands and teach others to use it in theirs as well.
Totally. So the focus from SellerLabs and with Feedback Genius is helping you build your brand and helping you expand that in as many ways as you can, right? You're trying to hit the metrics that Amazon cares most about, and then also trying to provide customer service. So the metrics, whether it's seller feedback or product reviews or any of those things, those are all that Amazon rates you on or rates your product ranking on. They're all come back to the core competency that Amazon cares about customer experience. And that's what they value above anything. And that's what all of those metrics and all of the metrics in your seller account are based around that concept, that if you are providing a good customer experience and you share a listing, then you're going to get the buy box more. If you provide a good experience and get sales and things like that, then you're going to rank higher. And so all of these kind of come from that. And so with that, with Feedback Genius, what we're trying to help you do is, one, build a brand, provide customer service, and then make sure that you're providing a good customer experience overall. And so one of the ways, and I think the way that Tim was kind of getting at it to do that, is to start building your brand by sharing things about your brand, about your company through Feedback Genius in your messaging.
Now, let me pause and say this. When you say build a brand, I could take that as two ways. I could see it as a product brand and also as a seller brand.
Totally.
Okay. And I think that almost to a fallacy, almost to a fault, a lot of people, when they hear you say that, immediately think that you're talking about that seller brand. Okay. So what I would see that as, if I were going at it from that point, would be, all right, I'm a seller on Amazon. My brand is my storefront. Okay.
Yeah.
And let me behoove people to stop thinking of themselves as a storefront. Stop thinking of themselves as an Amazon seller. Start thinking of yourselves as a product seller that uses Amazon. Okay. Now, if you are still thinking consistently all the time of yourself as a Amazon seller, you are probably attaching too much emphasis to your account name as being your brand. Okay. So I would say this. You can't, because consumers don't really care about your account name. They don't care about the marketplace. They care about the brand name of the product. So consumers don't see us as Amazon sellers as we see ourselves as Amazon sellers. Okay. So when, like what Tyler just mentioned, using it as a brand building opportunity, don't be trying to increase the value of your brand being your Amazon storefront.
Right.
Okay.
Totally.
So when you send these Feedback Genius auto-generated emails, don't talk about your storefront. Talk about the product. Okay. The product brand. Is that what you had in mind also, Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You want to, if you have any kind of recurring renewable source for that product, you want to be talking about product reviews. You want to be talking about your brand, the brand of the product, not your seller name. Your seller name doesn't make a difference if you're the only seller or one of the few sellers and consistently get the buy box. You want to focus on telling the story of the product, of the brand of the product, the company, not your company, but like the brand name of the product. Because all marketing is, and if you look at the companies that are doing the best at marketing and brand building, they're telling you a story. And so that's what you need to be focused on doing with Feedback Genius, with your product listings, with from the top down. You need to tell the story of your brand and how it's going to help the customer. And if you do that well, then you're going to succeed.
So let's talk about a simple form of that. So let's say I'm a basic private label seller. I've got a few listings of my own, few products of my own, and I am already using SellerLabs. I already have Feedback Genius, or I don't have Feedback Genius. So I want to get it and use it simply. Let's brainstorm some simple ways to do that. Now, let's also assume that you just have a few listings. You don't have an off Amazon presence yet. You don't have a Facebook page, nothing like that.
Totally.
A simple way of using Feedback Genius would just be building out a quick, simple email template in Feedback Genius that sends something that says something about, hey, we at product brand name, not Amazon storefront brand name, product brand name, care about your happiness. All right. And then don't immediately launch into, leave us a review and all that bull crap, but just say, one of our missions is to make sure that we're consistently providing, awesome products that fit your needs at a price that is valuable to you. Those of us in the insert brand name here family, would love to be able to, meet your expectations in every single way. And then you can just leave it at that. Now you can probably also have some tie-in stuff to that. If we didn't, fulfill your expectations, shoot us a message by responding here and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But already what we're doing is we're thinking about the product brand as opposed to seller brand, because back when I was doing that initially as just a big wholesaler, that's what I was doing is those of us at, account name, because we saw ourselves as resellers too. But now that we own this brand, and Tyler, you can insert logos and stuff into there, can't you?
Yeah, you can insert logos. You can have product image headers, things like that. I would say, if you have some of those assets already, don't be afraid to use them again. Like those are great things. Especially
if you can throw product logos in there, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Or, even having the picture of the specific product, things like that. It's like, oh yeah, this is what I bought from them. Even if they don't remember your brand name from looking at it, if you get them to click through, have them say, oh yeah, that's what I bought from them. Like that's huge.
So have a product picture and the brand logo independently, because, I know from product marketing research and stuff, it takes people a lot of times before they start recognizing those brands. Totally. So pepper that brand name all in that email, pepper that logo everywhere. In the title, you can change the title of that auto-responded email. Don't say something about checking on your Amazon purchase. Say something like, the family at insert brand name here, wants to follow up on your recent purchase so that they're seeing you as a brand. That's super easy, right? Totally.
And don't be afraid to, you probably have a pretty decent idea. You might not have a full-on persona built out, but you probably have a pretty decent idea of the person who's buying your product. And so write your email to those people. If I'm selling, whatever, if I'm selling a widget, then this kind of person buys that widget. And so write to them, talk about things that they like and talk about what the brand would talk about who's trying to reach to them.
All right. So now let's talk more advanced. This is what I immediately started thinking, and I haven't shared this with you. So let me walk through this with you in my head and you tell me if this makes sense or even if this works, because there might be some TOS compliant stuff.
Yeah.
So if we start thinking of ourselves as brand owners and not as resellers,
right,
that starts to change a lot of our perception about what's okay and what's not on Amazon. And I see a lot of arguments about this. People are getting in Facebook groups and they're freaking out. Oh my gosh, I want to have an insert card, but I can't have my website domain on it. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere in terms of service that actually says that, right?
It's kind of a gray area.
It's kind of a gray area in what you can and can't use it for. So you can't. My understanding is the terms of service say you cannot direct people away from Amazon. So you can't say, hey, if you want to buy more, go to mybrand.com.
Right.
But what you can do, start thinking of yourselves like Nike, like Nabisco, like every other big company out there. If you get their retail packaging, of course it's going to have their domain on it. Of course it's going to have their website, right? So think of yourself like those big guys. So what I'm thinking is a good option for us, and we haven't implemented it yet because we just discovered this a couple weeks ago, and honestly, we've launched like 40 new products this month, so haven't had time. But start telling our brand story as if we were one of those big brands. Now, a lot of the products that we sell personally are already fairly well branded. We've already got some off Amazon traffic. And a lot of the products we've built very uniquely, such as with sourcing in Central America and telling the stories there. Yeah. So let's say that we're launching a new product line of widgets or wall art that's all handmade in Central America. Okay. What we would do is we would know going in that we have a story not just about what the brand represents, which is employing women in Central America, which is helping to create legacies of stability and education there by bringing, money and by bringing work to them, but also talk about the story that is being created for that consumer, because now that consumer is becoming a hero in that story of changing, the oppression and the depression down there, right? So think about like Tom's shoes. If you bought, excuse me, coughed on your sock again, I'm sorry, another SellerLabs shout out. If you bought a pair of Tom's shoes, and everybody knows what Tom's shoes are, and you open that box, there's probably going to be an insert card in there that does two things, tells two pieces of story. One is what Tom's shoes does, which is buy a pair, give a pair. By buying, you bought this pair of shoes, we're going to give a free pair of shoes to somebody in need. Okay. The other thing it does, it tells a story of you as the consumer that bought those shoes. By you buying these shoes, you are now the hero of that other person getting that pair of shoes, right? So we could stack in a couple different layers of stories into our email campaign that talks about the brand, where it's produced, why it's produced, but also start telling the story of that consumer reading that email. By buying this brand, you're helping support this. Okay. Now, in all of that, we can easily come in terms of service. And by having mentioned the brand enough, we can direct people to other places very, very softly, in my opinion. Okay. Now we can do that because even if we don't have a URL in there, people will go to Google. If they read a compelling story and you just have the brand name listed in there, you can say stuff like, if you'd love to hear more about our brand story, it can be found on our website, and just leave it at that. And then see if they're going to Google, because you can check the Google, Google analytics and stuff. If people are directly just going and like, okay, doing that. And Amazon's not going to care about that because it's not against terms of service, because you're not directly telling them to come buy your product there. It's just a brand story. You can even set up a landing page with just the story, and they could backtrack around to another sales page where you can start capturing people, whatever you want to do. So it's really a good way to get brand recognition so that they'll just continue buying your Amazon brand, but also get them engaged in the next level, the upper level stuff that we all want to be getting involved with, which is trying to get traffic away from Amazon and not being dependent on Amazon. Right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean,
any thoughts, Tyler? I know I just threw a lot out there, but try to.
No, I think that you're right on as far as like what you're saying, which is like, developing your brand story and doing it from the top down. And using the messaging is a key way to do it, right? Because that these people are at least interested in your product. They're probably not interested in your story yet, but that's that first point of engagement where you can make them interested in your story. And then furthermore, make them interested in your brand continually by doing that. And so I think that's like an absolutely great approach, but you do have to have the materials to back it up, right? You can start, it's not necessarily something you have to have day one, but you can start telling that story. And like you said, if you want to start to build that out over time, it's a great way to do it.
So let's take it down a little bit simpler, because I just went all into like sourcing in third world countries and all that, but it's a good example of a structure that can be done more easily. So I'm going to make a few assumptions here. Okay. And I know this based on data, but nobody get your feelings hurt. Okay. There are a lot of private label sellers that started off as side hustlers. Okay. And a lot of those side hustlers were stay-at-home moms. Okay, we know that.
Mhm.
Just truth. If you're like a big gruff dude, I'm not calling you a stay-at-home mom, I promise. I'm just pointing it out, all right? So that stay-at-home mom has got a really cool story.
Mhm.
Here's how I would tell that story using Feedback Genius for branding. As a mom of 3 trying to find a product that fills X purpose, we found or designed or discovered this product, which did it perfectly for cleaning up crayons off the carpet, whatever your product does.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then talk about, after we discovered that, we knew what a great success this product would be if we could only help deliver it to the masses and make it more available for others, moms trying to keep their house clean. And that's when we decided to create this brand and start a side business and start selling on Amazon. Right. So that story could be told a million different ways. It could be the retired gruff dude that started making something in his garage as a homemade tool, and tell the story about how his neighbors came over and said, this thing's awesome. And he started at a flea market selling a few and went, holy cow, I can sell these things on Amazon. This is great. And tell that story.
And just watch the Shark Tank. They do this 4 or 5 times every single episode.
Amen.
It's like, it's not any, it's no offense to the Shark Tank people. It's not anything new at every single time. It's the same structural story that they're telling because they know the story is compelling and they get you on the side of the person who's pitching. And that's what you're trying to do as a seller, as a brand, rather, to do. You're trying to get the people on your side. You're trying to incorporate them, get you on, say like, oh, it's not just us. We're a team. You and I are a team. Let's go through this journey together. Let's solve this problem together. Let's, what have you. Let's do this together.
Yeah. So the stories can be simple. The stories can even be, I could go on and on about all the stories. You guys can come up with that. If you guys are having trouble with a story, just watch a few episodes of Shark Tank.
Yeah,
go on and Google brand stories, man. It's super easy. But here's my point with all this. When it comes to using Feedback Genius, having that autoresponder, which will go in and email all of my buyers, and you can create a different email template for each individual ASIN, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So every private label ASIN that you have, go in and create a different story. And you can do 2 different emails that are timed differently, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So create 2 and create one that pitches the story a little bit different ways. And okay.
You know what, Tim? Like here's some next level stuff, even kind of taking it a level deeper. Next level, we can send different messages for each time someone buys from you. So if someone buys from you a second time, you kind of reiterate that story. You say, hey, thanks so much for buying into this dream that we have, to buying into this goal that we're doing. Just to remind you, this is what it's going towards. This is what you buying the second time has done for, if in the situation for these people in South America, this is what this is doing and continuing to do. So thank you so much for continuing to be part of this journey with us.
Now, I just thought of something else too. You can't direct people away from Amazon for sales, but you can for customer service, right?
What do you mean by that?
Like there's a lot of products that you buy that it said, it might be something oversized and I'll buy it on Amazon and I open it, it says, stop, if there's a problem, do not return this to Amazon. We handle our own customer service. And they set up email addresses like customer service at, xyzbrand.com. You could actually, as long as it's not product related, I think in those email responses, you could say something to the effect of, if you have any more questions about our brand vision, our brand goal, what our brand means, email us at customer service at xyzbrand.com, right?
I think that'll probably be stripped out in Amazon.
Will it?
I think because of the way that they have the systems to set up where it's like anonymous email to anonymous email, that they'll automatically strip out anything.
But you could say, check us out online and, ask any questions. You could say it kind of.
Yeah, there might be some more, I think that's kind of in the gray.
Slick ways of doing it. We're going to try it and see what happens. But my point is, to what you were saying, you could actually almost split test, right? So you could have, so let's say the first purchase of a ASIN with a certain brand, you send one email out 3 days after it's delivered, and then another email 7 days or 12 days after it's delivered. And you have a little bit different message with some sort of sly call to action maybe, and that call to action could just be respond to that. So these emails may have to kick back over into your personal Amazon seller account, which is fine in the message system there. But see which type of story or which type of email or which type of format of engagement gets the most engagement. You know what I mean? You can almost split test that because Feedback Genius allows you to do multiple emails per purchase and multiple emails per brand per customer, which I didn't know it did that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's like it's got some really deep stuff, and it's especially for that kind of context for telling your brand story is super cool.
So I guess the moral of the story is don't assume I know it all, and don't assume that just because I used something for a purpose 3 or 4 years ago means that I can't use it for a different purpose now. But what's really, really important is use all the tools that you have to start building your brand, because I'm going to say us is in collective Amazon sellers. Mm-hmm. We consider us to be nothing but side hustlers, nothing but small potatoes, nothing but resellers. Even when we sell a lot of private label stuff, we think of ourselves just as Amazon sellers. We have to stop doing that. We have to start thinking bigger. We have to be giving ourselves more credit. And even if we aren't bigger now, even if maybe we don't deserve more credit now, start thinking, because that's all we are, is just resellers. Start thinking of ourselves in the future. Mm-hmm. So start placing those seeds that are going to matter in a year, 2 years, 3 years, or even less. And start thinking of yourself as that brand, okay? Not the seller brand, but the product brand. Even if you only have one product in that brand, you probably can't take it off Amazon that way, but you can still get repeat purchases. Right. We have several products that we've launched that were, tests into certain niches that are still selling. I've been selling them for 2 or 3 years, and I don't have any of the products under that same quote unquote brand name. It's hard to do quotes with the SellerLabs sock on under that quote brand name, but we can still do it. We still have an insert card that's really cool. It talks about that brand, and how, our mission to create this best product or whatever. So go ahead and start that now. Even if you only have one private label product, start playing with the idea of setting up a branded response email that does the things that it's supposed to. Hey, you can leave seller feedback and all that stuff, because that stuff doesn't hurt you at all. But then also be talking about the brand presence, the brand story, if you have one, which you do. If not, you can kind of pencil whip one that I'm not saying make something up, but you probably have more of a story than you realize. Even if it sounds basic to you, it sounds probably good to the clients. And start just placing that brand name in their head, so that even if it takes them 10 times to see that name before it really gets ingrained in there and they remember it, start now, because if you start a year from now, you may have missed 3 or 4 good opportunities.
Totally. I would absolutely 100% agree with that.
So anything else, Tyler, that you can think of as a good use for Feedback Genius that we haven't talked about?
I think that those are like primarily great ways to go. And I think that even if you're trying to figure out what that branding is and what your story is, Feedback Genius is a great place to start, right? Because you can see through metrics what people are responding to better and what people aren't responding to better through the calls of actions, right? So, as far as telling your brand story, or maybe your brand story doesn't change, but how you tell it changes. The verbiage that you use around it changes. You say, oh, maybe my target audience isn't quite who I thought they were. Maybe I need to talk to them in a different manner. Things like that are really important. So A/B testing your subject lines and your content is super important. And that's something that you should definitely be looking into. Okay. I think that's a great foundation.
I agree completely. So right now this is on Facebook Live, but we will have a lot more views. Watch this over the next week on Facebook. And this is also going to be on YouTube. So awesome. If you're watching a replay of this, guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you just want to pop on and leave a comment about how good looking me and Tyler are, because I'll be honest, we don't hear that a whole lot, and it would be kind of nice to hear that every once in a while.
I need all the positive affirmations to
get. Me too. Do that. Just leave comments, whether on Facebook or YouTube, and we will respond to you.
Yes.
If you have any questions about,
I'll respond.
Tyler respond to that. If he's not, if it's like in our group, I'll kick it over to, actually Tyler's in the group, so he'll see it. No matter where it is, we'll kick it back and forth and get you any answers that you can. Even if this is a year old video and you're watching this a year from now on YouTube and you have a question, leave a comment. We will respond to it. Absolutely. As a way to check out the SellerLabs system, I just posted up on the screen SellerLabs.com/Legion. So if you go to that website or that landing page, what specifically is on there, Tyler, for them?
Yeah, that's just more about Feedback Genius. And you can use the promo code Legion and you'll save 20% on your first 6 months if you're interested on
what?
That. So go to
I didn't even know that.
And that'll get you Feedback Genius. It'll show you Feedback Genius. You can learn more about it.
So SellerLabs.com Legion, or you said promo code was, I'm trying to type in these stupid socks.
Legion, all lowercase.
Promo code Legion.
Yep.
Okay. And with that promo code, they get 20% off the monthly price for the first 6 months. Mm-hmm. And this is like they can try it out and cancel it whenever, right? This isn't like a year contract deal.
No contract. They can stay with us for however long they want.
So guys, if you are not using Feedback Genius right now, use this code, use the promo opportunity that Tyler has. Go to that SellerLabs.com/Legion, and he'll have some more information directly, about the services kind of as we talked about today. And then also check out their other services like Ignite and Scope. Scope we use for our private label business, and then Ignite, we've been playing with it for a while, and probably in a few minutes, if you're watching this live, some of our folks and some of SellerLabs folks are going to be getting on another meeting and even honing in on some further training that we're going to be putting out on how to use Ignite and help that work for your business. So stay tuned for that. So anything else, Tyler, that you want to share before we get off of here?
That's all. Just thank you so much for having me. And thanks for everyone for coming and watching. And
thank you for these awesome I always get messed up, SellerLabs socks. And remember to run PPC. It's better on your shirt than my forearm.
Yeah, a little bit. That's okay.
All right. So if you guys enjoyed this content, we're going to keep bringing it to you. Make sure to go to, on your web browser, thelegion.group to join our Facebook community, or check out privatelabellegion.tv. That's the entire URL, privatelabellegion.tv, which goes to our YouTube channel, which has mountains of this stuff that we've been stacking up for a while, free content, good advice. And get engaged with us however you guys want to. And look for us at some live events. We talked about the Rocky Mountain Reseller Conference coming up later in 2019, either June or July. What other events are you guys going to, Tyler? I know you're like us. You're kind of making out that calendar now.
Yeah, if it's an Amazon event, chances are we'll be there. That's my my strong stance on it. We'll be at IRCE, RMRC, or what was Rocky Mountain Reseller Conference. We'll be at Steve Chu's event, the Seller Summit. We'll be at Scott Volker's event, the Brand Accelerator. We'll be at pretty much all of them. Please don't feel slighted if I didn't name you just now. But we'll be at pretty much all of them. You know how much you see me in and about. I found that I'm going to Australia in May. Whoa, that's awesome. For global, not Global Sources, Retail Global.
Yeah. Do you know anybody else from the States going? That's going to be a long haul.
I'm not totally sure about this year.
I go to China like 3 or 4 times a year, and that's a pretty long flight. Actually, the flight from LA to Sydney is longer than from Dallas to Shanghai.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
I didn't know that either. It's like an hour longer. So not looking forward to the flight again, but looking forward to going to that event because I've never been to Australia. So I wish I had time to play, but it'll be cool.
Yeah, those guys put on a great show.
All right. Well, thank you all again for watching. And Tyler, thanks for showing up, man. I'm sure I'll be talking to you again in the very, very near future, putting more content together, just hanging out like we have done in the past. I'm sure we'll do again in the future. Definitely. And I guess that's it. So signing off. Thank you all for watching Own a Legion Live.